And it's simple math, Jeff. Just like you said, if I know that I'm going to sell the same amount of cars between now and February 1st, but I also know that I need an extra 150 cars, and let's just use 10,000 as an ACV. I know I'm going to need $1.5 million.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Where's it going to come from?
No idea. Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Risk Services.
Good job.
Yeah, nailed it. What's up, Luke? Man, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm in the office this week. You and I unfortunately didn't get to continue to be in San Diego because it's so nice down there. But in the office and catching up on some things that I was behind on, and thinking about the future, and just thinking about the things I would typically do this time of the year that I'm not actually having to do right now.
Yeah, like you would typically be out golfing, or
Well, I really wanted to play golf a lot this week, but I only got to play once. So
you would be typically thinking about our most wonderful time of the year is what you're thinking about.
yeah, tax season, and it's never too early to start preparing because it means so much for retail sales and buy here pay here sales, and it matters for both. And there's, I think, a misunderstanding that tax season's only about buy here pay here. It's not the case, and there's also a misconception that tax season no longer exists, but I can tell you it does.
He's seen it. He knows it exists. He believes. So people might be confused. They say, Luke and Jeff, you guys are crazy. It's September. You haven't even had Bill Nyland on yet. Like, why are you going to be talking to me about prepping for tax time? Luke, how would you answer those people?
It's never too early to prepare. And you're getting the fourth quarter of the car season, prices dip. And it's the best time to buy. And things sometimes slow down. So it's a great time to keep your shop busy or keep other shops busy for recon. So you got to prepare right now. And I'm not saying to start buying right now. We have a way to look at inventory to see what prices are dipping and what aren't. But I think you just need to be prepared. I want you to have a written path to make sure that you're ready by January 15th or February 1st.
Yeah. So let's go over that. We got 5 steps we're going to share with you today. They're going to walk you through kind of the idea that you need to start thinking about. The reason we're doing this in September, obviously, is you've got to get the plan down. You've got to talk with your staff, your management, your accountants. You've got to figure out how you're going to execute on this over the next 60, 90, 120 days. Because if you wait until December to start talking about this, it ain't going to happen. And there's a lot of reasons why. Let's get into it. So, Luke, the number one tip you have, what is it?
Yeah, it's develop a buying strategy and an inventory strategy for tax season. It's so important. And when I go into dealers and we start talking about when I'm there for consulting on site, and the first thing I ask is, do you have a buying strategy? And typically the answer is no. And I understand that. And some of them will say, I have a no buy list. Well, okay, you have a no buy list, but does that mean you can buy everything else? Because that's not the case.
Not everything else. No, I've definitely got a buy list. I know what I want to go after. And I know, and interesting you say this, because this was timely. I spent all day yesterday walking the lanes.
Oh, brain damage.
Dude, just like Jack Carter. Like I felt Jack Carter-esque. And it was incredibly painful. It was literally the first time I'd set foot inside of an auction in probably 5 years. And we came away with a little stack of vehicles, almost filled a whole truck.
Wow.
So productive. But within that frame, when you talk about buying strategies, we made our pre-sale list beforehand. We know what we want to go after. We know we were trying to chase a lower ACV. but we wanted to actually put our hands on it because,
Yeah.
my opinion, that's the only way to buy something sub 8 grand these days is to physically go check it out.
So Jeff, if I told you you had to between uh, October 1 and February 1st have an extra 150 cars ready to go and reconned, and you didn't have a strategy, how much of a brain damage would that be?
Yeah, it'd be incredibly painful to try to add that much more volume to my processes because I wasn't set up for them. And with
That's
the
right.
change last week, I'm moving so that my shop manager can be a full-time buyer. And this is very timely, right? We hired someone to replace him inside the shop to order parts. He is going to be now outside of the building, just strictly hounding the streets, Facebook Marketplace, auctions, new car stores, everywhere he can go to find inventory as we gear up. But inside of that, when you say buying strategy, he does have guardrails, right? We
Yeah.
have an ACV we want to hit, and we have certain makes and models that we want to keep our eyes on. So,
Yeah. I mean, what I would encourage people to do is go and you know what you want to buy and you know what works for you. You know what works in tax season. Sometimes different things work in tax season that don't work in other times because you can get these larger down payments, right? So sometimes you can scale up and sell a little higher price car because your cash and deal can go down, right? Or can be the same, even with some better inventory.
I
So,
want to scale down. I'm scaling downwards.
and that's fine. And that's fine. It doesn't really matter. That means you can have more cars ready for tax season.
So
So
let's talk about the step number 2 then, because that leads us into the needs,
yeah, yeah.
cash needs. Like, what is it going to, if I got to have an extra 150 cars ready and my average ACV is going to be in the, I don't know, 8 grand area. I don't do public math, but that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. So how much cash are you going to need available to accomplish this? And it may not be cash. How much flooring line am I going to need to have available for this? Or how much can I borrow against my portfolio to make sure do I have enough basis there to make sure it works? And it's simple math, Jeff. Just like you said, if I know that I'm going to sell the same amount of cars between now and February 1st, but I also know that I need an extra 150 cars, and let's just use 10,000 as an ACV. I know I'm going to need $1.5 million.
It's a lot of
Where's
money.
That's a lot of money. Where's it going to come from?
I have no idea.
Okay. So we may have an idea that we need 150, but we may also realize that we have the cash for 75 extra, right?
Good point.
And so we may have to say, all right, I've got $750,000 available to make tax season really hit, and I'm going to use it wisely. And Jeff, like you talked about, that could be, you know what, I'm going to go down in ACV a little bit to make sure I can get the amount of cars I want. Or I'm going to say, you know what, I want 75 extra cars at a $10,000 ACV.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time to tap into my reinsurance money.
Oh man, what a great segment into a Buckeye ad, Jeff.
It's it's really interesting because it is a great forced savings account. So there's all sorts of things you can do with your reinsurance money. You can reinvest it, you can borrow it back, you can, I don't know, stick it in a sock somewhere. You can do all sorts of stuff. But one of them is you could leave your cash in a long-term CD or a short-term CD, a 6-month CD that matures every August or September, and you use it the next 6 months for your inventory, and then as it comes back in, you sock it back into that CD or something. So
I love that idea.
interesting ideas if you have that capital available, and that's the beauty of the reinsurance is it's that forced savings account.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. Instead of using someone else's capital, instead of hitting your flooring line, just hit your reinsurance company. Pay yourself 5% during that time, and then pay it back at the end of tax season as the money comes in, because it is a forced savings account, and a lot of us have 750,000 sitting in there.
Yeah, exactly. So step number 3, Luke, you're gonna kind of, when you looked at your buying strategy, you looked at how much cash that's going to take. Now you're reassessing what you've got on the ground, right?
Yeah.
What do I have here currently that's either aged out that I maybe I want to keep it over until tax time? Maybe I need to get rid of it so I can replace it with something fresh and generate cash out of that aged inventory. Or maybe I've got something sitting in the back lot that I just really need to bite the bullet on and order that engine and get it ready in time.
Yeah, it's the best time of the year to get to get inventory ready is right now, but the second best time is for tax season, right? Because
Yeah.
I know that cars will bring the most money and they're the most valuable between February 15th and let's call it April 15th. I know wholesale wise and retail wise, I'm going to get the most
Mhm.
for it. And what happens a lot of times, you make bad buys during, let's call it April and May. You make bad buys. Everybody makes bad buys. And you're tired of looking at that car. You paid too much for it. Well, get real on what it's worth. And let's mark it down. Let's get it ready for tax season and let's blow it out. Either wholesale, cash, scrap, or get it ready for buy here, pay here. You need to make sure that that inventory that's sitting is no longer costing you money. And every tax season, just wipe everything out and start over. Start over afresh on March 1st because it'll make you feel better. I promise you.
I'll tell you what, nothing makes me more excited than throwing stuff out. That's one of my absolute passions in life is just throwing things in the garbage can. And so it does feel good when, I mean, you've been in my backyard. There's not a lot of bones
No,
sitting back
no.
there. I don't have the space for it. If I did, I would love to have a parts, field, but I don't. So I got to make decisions on those things quick. I either got to get them repaired, throw good money after bad and get them running and try to sell them retail or cash car, or I got to yank the cats out of them and send them to the scrapyard for $200.
Yeah.
So it's a decision you got to make. It definitely, as we get into parts being more available, and I'm seeing some parts come down in price a little bit, get a little more reasonable, maybe it becomes more attractive to fix that car. And I need this kind of time because when we talk about getting more cars ready, my shop is already running at maximum capacity. So for me to ask them to do an extra 5 cars a week to be ready for tax time in 4 months, that's a
Yeah.
lot. That seems
It is.
doable. It's not easy. That is very, very hard for my shop to do without, even though I'm utilizing 4 or 5 outside shops. Like I got cars everywhere.
Yeah, and this is a great time of the year to utilize outside vendors because typically outside service departments will slow after the summer season, especially where it's hot because the weather starts to cool down a little bit. So you're not worried about AC repairs. Cars aren't running hot as much, and so there's outside vendors that need work this time of the year. You need to make sure that you're contacting them and getting work done on these cars that are sitting. These cars sitting is just tied up capital. Doesn't need to be sitting there.
Yeah. So we got the strategy. We know we got the cash. We're looking at our current stuff and getting it cleaned up. And those that are ready, we're dumping the rest. Now we got to start talking about how are we going to market these suckers? How are we putting them out there? What's our game plan going to look like now that we've got to bring in all these customers on these cars that we just bought? It's a good time to start thinking about that strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. And tax season's marketing needs to start in my opinion, uh, December 1.
Mm,
Like you need to hit the ground running. And of course, we'll talk about Tax Max later on in their fourth quarter program. But I can tell you this, if you start on February 1 advertising for tax season, you're not going to have any penetration. Nobody's going to know you. So what we always did was we just dialed up our advertising spend on December 1. And man, I tell you, by the time now I'm gonna tell you this, it will bring in a lot of tire kickers because they're
mm,
waiting on their money, right? But it
yeah.
doesn't matter. You got to get them in the pipeline. They got to know what you're going to have ready. And my inventory would just swell that time of the year, right? And I would have 108 cars, 110 cars sitting on the lot. And when people did come, they're like, oh man, as soon as I get my tax money, I'm coming right back to you. But it was all because we took that advertising spend and let's say it was typically $3,000 or $4,000 with our provider, we would double it. And we would double it. We would double it for December, January, and then we would turn it off. And so we weren't really spending any extra money. We were just putting them into 2 months instead of spreading it out over 4 months.
Yeah. That is interesting. When you think about, makes me think about two things there. The strategy of what other marketing channels do you step into that might be seasonal, right?
Yeah.
Even, we talk to big time advertisers and they say it's not a set it and forget it type budget situation with your
No,
Facebook spend or you Google. You do need to vary it based on season, based on time of the week, based on paydays. I mean,
based on inventory availability.
yeah,
A lot of
based
people
on if you
forget
even
that.
got stuff to sell.
Yeah. And That's a big deal. The worst time to advertise in the car business is when you don't have inventory ready to sell. And so what happens is, at the end of February, the end of March, you should have no advertising going because you typically won't have anything left to sell. So, and all the advertising you did prior to that will really help. So you kind of can just put it on coast after that.
Yeah. What about, like, my issue is when I do that pre-advertising, I start getting those people in
Yeah,
February, or for me, it's more like November, December with the fourth quarter program.
right.
All the good stuff goes first, man. All the four-wheel drive SUVs and Z71s that I just happen to steal and get ready and make them work for buy here, pay here. Those are always the first ones to go. Is
I'm
that,
a
is that, I mean, can I help that, or is that just the
Yeah,
way
you
it
can
is?
help that. You can help that. One thing, that's the reason we got to have the right buying strategy in place, because if we know that the right type of stuff is going to sell and we start now and we just load up on it. And I'm talking about building searches within Manheim and within Odessa and your pipeline. Build searches that you buying a little bit further out than you normally would. So you make sure you get that right product. So the first thing to prevent that is to have more of them. The
Hmm.
second thing is, and this is key, there's two strategies to this one strategy. Up your down payment, number one.
Mm.
Just up it. And what
Like, put
if
a
you
required down payment
put
on the
a
car.
put a required down payment? So let's just say your average down payment's $1,800, which is, a lot of places I see is about $1,800. Let's just say from December 1st until March 31st, the down payment on that on an SUV that's our best seller is going to be $3,000. So you can slim out people pretty, you can make sure you put the right person. I'm not saying the right person always has the biggest down payment. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. But what I'm saying is by adjusting down payment, you can thin the people out and get the right person in that. Or if you 100% have the right person, you put them in it anyway.
Yeah, that's the only thing I worry about is I say, okay, if I put a required down payment on that car, that's exactly what my salesman's going to say to him. Hey, sorry, Mr. Customer, it takes $4,000 to get into this Tahoe, and Mr. Customer's going to walk. Where it's
That's
like, oh,
yeah.
he was great, he was well qualified. We would have done him with $2,000 down,
Well, that's the
but
reason you have to have an F&I person making the right decision. You just can't leave it to a salesperson making that decision.
yeah, and that's probably when you say required down, it's almost like the salesmen don't know that. They don't know what the required
They
down
don't.
is on that car. The F&I or your underwriter, your manager, yourself, whoever it is, comes back and says, "Hey, Mr. Customer, great news, got you approved. You're going to need $4,000 down on this one." You
That's
know,
right.
well, why? You said I was approved on the Ford Focus with $2,000 down. Yeah, you're right. You were. They're the same price. Why can't I get either? They're both the same price.
It's just the way it is. That's what the underwriter said. I can't help you.
It's just the way it is.
Just
This
the
one's
way it
older.
is.
It's got more miles. They can't do as long a term. Blah blah blah. Yeah, all
Yeah,
sorts of
yeah.
good reasons to come up with
And
that.
there's good reasons. And honestly, your salesperson, and this is a whole different thought process. Your salesperson really doesn't need to be discussing down payment with your customers, but that's just it's my philosophy. And
And
Jeff,
and and
yeah, go
we
ahead.
talked about this. Step number 4, Luke. It's its own thing. I mean, this is
Yeah,
its own episode. We
for
really
sure.
need to
Oh, for
fill
sure.
this one off in a couple of weeks and talk about the marketing side of
I agree.
tax time completely separate. We don't have enough
Yeah.
here.
But the last one is kind of goes hand in hand. It's pretty important.
Let me tell you one thing though on number 4 before we go too far.
Yep.
When we talk about Blytzpay and our sponsors, that's a great spot to start with your marketing because you can
Oh man.
email
Yeah.
and blast text your current customers that are not only low balances, but long age. We all know customers don't want to be in their cars longer than 18 months. By 24 months, they're chomping at the bit to get out of it. So just because they still owe you $8,000 doesn't mean that you can't get that customer in. They've been in it 24 months. They want out of that car. They're going to take that tax money somewhere and
Mhm.
trade that thing, even if they're a little teeny bit flipped in it still. So make sure you're marketing to your current customers. Those are the best ones to get first. You
So
know them, you know how they pay.
we every Christmas we send a Christmas card out. Okay. To all current customers, to all previous customers that had bought and not been repossessed in the last 48 months. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Payouts, all of it in the last 48 months. We'd send out typically 3,000 Christmas cards. and it would give them $500 off of the down payment of the car. And we would have customers that for some reason fell off the list that would come in and be like, I did not get a Christmas card this year. I demand my $500 off my down payment. No
Yeah,
problem. Here you go. So,
that's so funny.
you're so right though. Your customer base is the most valuable. It's the
Mhm.
least cost to acquire a customer. It's the least cost to acquire their referrals. They're the highest closing percentage. All these things matter so much. Do not neglect your customer base. And Jeff, you're right. Blytzpay and their text package, you could probably set up something in there and send out a great coupon for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's wrap this up with step number 5. Evaluate your staff. What does that mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, we get to this time of the year, and for a vast majority of buy here, pay here, and smaller retail dealers, they don't have enough staff to handle the volume that's going to come in during tax season.
Mm,
And if you're already running a little thin, it's time to hire.
mhm,
Because if you can get someone hired, let's say in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you can train them up ready to go and hit the ground running in tax season.
mm.
The worst thing to do is have more leads than you have people to cover, and more people on your showroom floor than you can cover. Because take it from someone that has happened to, it's going to happen. No matter how many people you hire, it's going to happen. Um, you know, you can hire for tax season, and you may find someone that's your new rock star, and maybe you have to get rid of someone that's been with you for a while. Or you may not find anybody new, and you get rid of the people who came in, but you had them during tax season to help you. Don't Whenever you hire someone, don't believe it's the last person you're going to hire.
Mm.
Just think of it as the next person you're going to hire, um, because you can get rid of them whenever you want to. And I know that's a bad way to think about it, but they'll do the same thing to you. So if you put in the effort to train them, they're going to be good, and they'll probably be better than what you have. Um, so just hire, interview, find a great person and hire them. Don't just hire an average person, hire a great person.
Yeah, and I honestly, we could move this step number 5 up to step number 1 because I almost feel like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
something that can be done right now. Because to your point, even if you find them in the next 30 days, which will be hard to do, and you get them hired, by the time you get them onboarded and trained enough to actually be fully running, like a salesman, that's a solid 90-day. I don't care how good a training program you have, you're 60 to 90 days to have someone really being able to run on their own and understand it.
Well,
Technicians,
that's the reason.
same.
That's the reason you got to do it October 1. You got to have them
Yeah,
hired. Yeah.
yeah. Your technicians, if you're behind in detail, if
Yeah.
you're, all those areas, that's a long lead time to not only find a qualified applicant, but get them in and get them up to speed.
And when we talk about evaluating staff, from experience, because detail can be one of those laggards, find you a good detail shop that you can take your cars to, because you don't want detail limiting your production. Uh, detail's a nightmare. I know there's plenty of success stories out there, but it's a nightmare.
Hmm.
And so what's that?
Then we've never had a problem.
As you're evaluating your staff, evaluate how you can do it better sometimes. And sometimes that means cutting out a department and have a subcontractor do it better.
Yeah, it definitely is good at these times of years when you're going to be fluctuating for short periods of time. That might be something to evaluate. I don't need to hire another detailer. I just need to outsource for the next 3 to 4 months my overflow. I
That's
don't
right.
need another technician that I'm just going to have to lay off in February. Let me just outsource some of this work to these other shops because we know this is a temporary bump in the road.
Yeah, it's in body work, CPI work. You don't want to drag your recon process down because you're working on CPI cars, or because you got one technician that can paint bumpers. Man, send that junk out. Like your technician needs to be turning wrenches.
Yeah. And if you were debating on firing that guy
Fire
or
them
that
now.
individual, now's the
Right now.
time to do it. I give you permission. They're bad culture. They're no good. Get rid of them now. Open that seat up. It's okay if it sits empty for 30 or 60 days. You'll find someone 1st of November. You'll get them trained up by the end of December, but you're never going to go looking if that subpar employee is still sitting in that seat. You're just going to be like, it's good enough. He'll be fine.
And there's more people to hire. Yeah, there's more people to hire right now than there has been in the last 5 years. Okay. So if you've gotten frustrated, 2 years ago when you were trying to hire, I get it. I was frustrated too. There are qualified people looking for jobs right now. We hired a new service advisor he started Monday. Really good guy. He didn't have a job. I mean, he didn't have a job. So he was willing to start work immediately. He's had so much experience, and just the transition compared to what we were looking for and able to hire right now compared to what we were looking for and had to hire 2.5 years ago, it's night and day. Don't be afraid of it. Reach out to me. I'll help you write a quick job description or whatever, and we'll get it loaded on the Indeed and off you go, man. They're out there.
There's a lot of three color dealership employees that got laid off recently that probably looking for jobs.
If you're in Texas, Arizona, and California, and you need some staff, I think there's 1,100 of them that got laid off. So I'm sure that you'll be able to find somebody.
Cool, Luke. This has been great, man.
Yeah. What do we got coming up? We got some cool things coming up, Jeff.
Yeah, we're excited. Obviously, you guys saw our episode last week with Tracy. Next week, Luke and I are going to be in Dallas recording just 48 hours of straight podcast interviews and content. So our promise to you a couple weeks ago that we're going to step up the production value and the entertainment and the education value of this podcast is we're putting our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, you're going to see more social media stuff that I see already starting to come out. Saw some stuff on Instagram. You're going to see more reels. You're going to see a new look. Next week's going to be fun, Jeff. It's going to be tiring. Yeah. But if y'all are, well, by the time this comes out, we'll already be back. So never mind. Yeah. But the people we are visiting, we're looking forward to it. And hopefully we'll just have some wonderful content to bring y'all. So you should like, subscribe, and share, right?
Yeah. And to that point, Luke, I don't think that's a thing anymore. But
oh, really?
To that point, if you do have an idea, please submit it through our website, theindependentdealer.com. We've got a great submission form. If you want to be a guest or someone who'd be a great guest that you want to hear from, definitely send that in there because we want to make sure we're taking everyone's requests and dedications seriously to bring you
and topics. If you need us to try to research a topic for you, I mean, what else am I doing, Jeff?
Yeah, he ain't got nothing. If it's cloudy, rainy, he can't go golfing, so he's just researching topics.
Yeah, so I kind of like that. And vendors too. They can live on there.
All right, talk to you next week.
See you, buddy.